So welcome back guys. In this particular session we'll be talking about the demography, right? So if you talk about demography, just try to break the words. Demography. Demo means basically, so demo means population and graphy means study of it. So in the demography basically we are going to try to study the population. That is a demography meaning, right? So this is a kind of a it's kind of a playlist, guys. In this particular section I will be talking about the demographic cycle, I will be talking about the demographic trends basically, I will be talking about the rates, fertility rates, and I will be talking about some programs, for an example census and all of these things in the upcoming videos, right? So please stay tuned guys, right? So here we are going to talk about first topic, that is the demographic cycle over here, right? So demographic cycle, right? So here in front of you, you can see one diagram right now, that is the demographic cycle, right? In this demographic cycle, let's try to simplify it, let's try to understand what it is basically. Okay, a lot of MCQs are hidden behind this demographic cycle, right? Okay, so over here we are seeing that how many stages are there in total, guys? 5 stages are there. What are these 5 stages? One is the high stationary state, second one is the early expanding state, third one is the late expanding stage, fourth one is the low stationary, and fifth one is the declining state over here, right? So how I am saying that? First one is called as a high stationary. Why is it so? Because look over here. In this case, this over here, this is the birth rate, right? And with the yellow color I am showing the death rate. This is the death rate. Now follow this one, right? Birth rate and death rate, guys, almost they are stable at the high levels, right? In the stage 1, that's why they are called as the high stationary, because the birth rate and the death rate both are stationary and they are at the high levels. They are called as the high stationary stage. Then if you will be coming to the second stage, guys, this is the explosive stage, right? This is the early expanding stage, where what happens is birth rate is still stationary. Birth rate remains unchanged in the stage 2. MCQ, guys. Birth rate, death rate remains unchanged in which stage? Stage 1, guys, right? They will be remaining high stable in which stage? They will be remaining high stationary in which stage? Birth rate and death rate, that they will be high stationary in the stage 1. That is the name of the stage. In the stage 2 now, birth rate, death rate, first of all in the stage 1 they will be high. Then in the stage 2, they are actually going through the stage 2 now. In the stage 2, guys, what happens is that birth rate is still remain unchanged, death rate starts to decline now. Death rate is starting to decline now, right? So in the stage 2, what I can see, guys, in the stage 2 what I can see, that birth rate is same. Birth rate you are seeing it is still same in the stage 2, but the change which you are seeing over here, which you are anticipating, that is the death rate. Death rate is starting to decline over here, right? And guys, one important thing over here, the gap between the birth rate and the death rate is actually called as the demographic gap, okay, or the natural increase. Natural increase is nothing but the demographic gap. Okay, what you need to take over here, takeaway point is this natural increase is only the demographic gap. What is the demographic gap? It is the difference between the birth rate and the death rate. Okay, so shall I write what is demographic gap? Again MCQ. Demographic gap, guys, demographic gap or demographic gap, this is the difference between the birth rate and the death rate. So shall I write birth rate minus death rate, because it is a difference between the birth rate and the death rate? Yes, I shall write that like that. Okay, so this is the demographic gap, this is the birth rate minus death rate, or difference between the birth rate and the death rate, right? Over here we are seeing that in the stage 2, this is called as the early expanding stage, because here the demographic starts to expand over here. At which stage of the demographic cycle the demographic gap will be found maximum? So guys, here you are seeing that in this particular stage, the death rate will be continuing declining, and then it will be entering into the stage 3, right? But over here what happens, as the birth rate you are seeing over here, as the birth rate is going into the stage 3, it starts to decline. So in the stage 2, birth rate was remaining unchanged and death rate was actually beginning to decline over here. But what happens in the stage 3, death rate was continuously sliding down, but birth rate also starts to decline down. So if you talk about demographic gap is maximum in which stage? Demographic gap is maximum in late part of the stage 2, right? So demographic gap I can see it is maximum in late part of the stage 2. This is the demographic gap, DG. The demographic gap is maximum in the late part of stage 2. If you talk about stage 3, guys, here the birth rate also starts sliding downwards. So over here now the demographic gap will start to narrow down. As the population is going in the stage 3, now the demographic gap will starts to narrow down now, right? So over here you will be seeing that, look at this demographic gap. Here the demographic gap, easily you can actually see the demographic gap will be start to increase, start to expand in the stage 2 and starts to narrowing in the stage 3. That is the demographic gap. What is the demographic gap? Birth rate, death rate difference. Understood, guys, this one? Okay. As the population will be start to going in the stage 4, then it will become again stable. But now this time the death rate, if you will be seeing, the death rate will be actually trying to become stable over here. And if you will be seeing the birth rate, it was keep on sliding downwards, okay, and in the stage 4 it will be keeping on sliding downwards, right? So obviously there will not be much change you will be seeing in the stage 4 in the birth rate and the death rate. So stage 1, if you guys remember, I told you they were high stationary, and the stage 4 we are telling them they are low stationary, okay? So that's why we are calling them as these names. Okay, stage 2 was early expanding because demographic gap was actually expanding over here, and then there was late expanding. Okay, demographic gap, you can see it is becoming narrow. So early expanding and then late expanding. Okay, that's how the stage 2 and stage 3 respectively are seen over here. After the stage 4, what happens is the death rate will be remaining silent only, or will be remaining the stable only, stationary only, but birth rate further after coming down, okay, it will keep on sliding downward. So here you can see with the pink color I am showing this particular birth rate, okay. As it will be sliding downward in the 5th stage, it will be keeping on sliding downwards only. So stage 5, it will be the declining or the negative stage, right? So that is very important to know for us, right? Once again, guys, stage 1 was high stationary, stage 2 was early expanding, stage 3 was late expanding, stage 4 was low stationary, and stage 5 birth rate is declining. So that's why it is a declining stage or the negative stage, right? We have understood that. Okay, negative demographic gap might be seen over there, that is in the stage 5, right? So here are some MCQs for you guys. Okay, let's test our knowledge, whatever we have learned till now. Okay, so first question which I'm going to ask you right now, that just tell me demographic gap. What is the demographic gap? Birth rate minus death rate, difference between the birth rate and death rate. Okay, second question is demographic gap. I'm just denoting it with the DG. Demographic gap, if you talk about, it will be start increasing in which stage? Starts increasing in which stage? Okay, first question, guys, you should be answering me. Second question for you guys, demographic gap will be starts decreasing in which state? Starts decreasing in which stage? Okay, this is also one MCQ for you guys, right? Third MCQ for you guys, okay, this is the demographic gap, this is the DG, right? Demographic gap, right? Third question for you guys, demographic gap will be minimum in which stage? Right, in which stage? Then fourth question will be for you guys, demographic gap will be highest at which stage? Demographic gap will be highest in which stage? So I hope you are able to answer these kind of questions, guys, very comfortably. Let's talk about first question, guys. Demographic gap starts increasing in which stage? Early expanding stage. Which stage? Early expanding. That is the boom, that is the explosive stage, right? If any country is in the stage 2 demographic cycle, then this country is in the boom situation, this country is in the explosive situation. Right now, fortunately, we are not in the stage 2, right? One interesting fact that 1921 is called as the great year of divide for the India. You know why? Because in the 1921 there was sudden boom in the population of India basically, and at that point of time the India was entering in the stage 2, and stage 2 means explosive stage. This is also termed as the explosive stage because the population is growing so fast, right? So that is the thing over here. So this is called as the early expanding stage, right? This is also called as the early expanding stage, right? So the demographic gap starts increasing in your which stage? That is the stage 2. That is the stage 2 over here. So I am writing this is the stage 2. I hope all of you must have answered it correctly. Next question I asked you, that demographic gap starts decreasing in, that is the next stage of that, the late expanding stage. What is this one? This is the stage 3. I hope all of you are answering very correctly over here, stage 3, right? Stage 3, right? That was the late expanding stage. Next question I asked you over there, that demographic gap will be minimum in which stage? So demographic gap, if I told you that the birth rate was keep on sliding downward from the stage 3, it will start declining, and it will keep on declining throughout the further stages. So in the stage 4 it will becoming a bit stable, and then further it will be declining downwards only, right? So in the stage 5 I can say that guaranteed that obviously the minimum demographic gap will be seen in the stage 5, right? Stage 5. If the stage 5 is not given in your options, then you can mark that as stage 4, but usually it will be given as stage 5. So stage 5 will be the answer in those cases. So over here I can write that demographic gap will be minimum in the late part of stage 5. In the late part of stage 5, right? Demographic gap will be highest. So demographic gap will be highest in the end of the stage 2. I told you at the end of this one, at the end of the stage 2, at the end of the early expanding stage, demographic gap was maximum. So demographic gap will be maximum in the end part of stage 2, end part of stage 2, and that is explosive stage, right? Okay guys, right now India is in which demographic stage? In which stage of demographic cycle? Then your answer will be the stage 3. Right now we are in stage 3 of the demographic cycle. So India is actually coming in which particular stage? That is the stage 3. Okay guys, some of the examples I would like to discuss over here. For an example, you can see that few remote groups might be present in the stage 1, right? Then Egypt, Kenya. Okay, India actually before we used to say that India is in stage 2, that was year of divide 1921, but now India came to this stage, that is the stage 3. Okay, so please do correct over here that India is not in the stage 2 now, India went to the stage 3 now. Okay, so Brazil over there, USA, usually we are seeing that developing countries are in the stage 3, stage 2 or stage 3, right? So there is always interchange is actually going on between these stages of the countries, but stage 4 usually they are the developed countries. Okay, most of the stable countries here, the population are bit stable, so that is the developed countries basically. Okay, and in the stage 5 there is a declining state, right? For an example, Norway, Germany, right? These kind of countries might be in the declining stage where the birth rate are less and death rate is more. So these kind of situation might be seen in the stage 5, right? Okay, so once you have understood that USA, Japan, countries like these are the stable countries and having this developed economy over there, developed states, developed countries rather. So they are actually in which stage? That is, they are in the stage 4, right? Stage 4 is kind of an ideal stage. Stage 4 is the ideal stage, guys. This is the ideal stage for any kind of country, right? Okay, now in the stage 1 we are seeing that this is the high stationary stage. It means we will be seeing that high birth rate and high death rate. So high birth rate will be seen and high death rate will be seen. In the stage 2 what was happening? Birth rate was remaining unchanged, but in the stage 2 death rate was start declining. So over here we are seeing that birth rate was remaining high only but falls rapidly. Death rate starts to fall rapidly in the stage 2, right? Then we told you, what I told you that birth rate start declining in the stage, which stage? Late expanding stage. That was the stage 3, but death rate actually continuing sliding downwards. Okay, sliding downwards, so falls more slowly now. Okay, so in the stage 2 death rate declines rapidly and then slowing, it is actually slowing in speed in the stage 3, and stage 4 it is actually stable only. So stage 4 it is low and the birth rate is also low, that is called as a low stationary stage, and the death rate will be very low or it might be declining also basically. So death rate will be low in the stage 5 as well, right? So that is the thing over here. Natural increase means demographic gap. So demographic gap, I told you, it will be the stable or slow increase, but very rapid increase at the maximum in the late part of the stage 2. I told you that, right? The slow, slowly it will start narrowing down in the stage 3, and stable or slow increase in the demographic gap in the stage 4 basically, and in the stage 5 slowly decreasing, right? So it's the minimum in the minimum in which stage, that is the stage 5, right? So once we have answered these kind of questions, guys, let me make a table over here so that everything is falling in the right place. Okay, so please, you need to answer me, guys, right now. Please be active over here. So here, if I will be writing the stages, guys, right, and over here, if I am writing the demographic gap, now you should be excited enough that what should be coming in what place, right? And here, if I am writing the population, if I am writing the population, right? Now let's find out, right, what things we shall talk about and what are your MCQs, right? Already we have talked about so many of MCQs, right? Now, first point over here, which I am writing the stage 1. If it is stage 1, there could be stage 1, there could be stage 2, 3, 4, and then stage 5, right? Now you tell me, in the stage 1, if I talk about the demographic gap, it was stable, right? It was stable. And stage 1, the other name for stage 1, high stationary stage, right? If you talk about the population over here, this will also be stable, right? In the stage 2, right, it was early expanding stage. Demographic gap, what was happening to demographic gap? It was start increasing, it was maximum in this stage, so it will be starts increasing. This is for your remembrance part, guys, I am writing. However, I have explained it earlier as well. And if you talk about the population, here the explosion happens, explosion of the population, right? Explosive growth will be seen. Explosive growth will be seen of the population if some country is coming in the stage 2. In the stage 3, we are talking about the population will be, the demographic gap will be start decreasing. India is in which stage? India is in second or third? Third stage. India is in third stage, and here we are seeing that population is actually increasing. But in the stage 2, I have talked about explosive growth of the population is happening. But in the stage 3, population growth is there, but lesser than stage 2. Okay, so growth will be there, but it would be less than stage 2. Growth will be there, obviously, but it will be less than stage 2. In the stage 4, this is the ideal stage, I told you already, ideal stage. In the stage 3, we are talking about our country, that is India, right? So in the stage 4, we are seeing that birth rate and death rate, they were low stationary. So this is the name also of this stage, and here we are talking about the stability. So again, guys, the demographic gap will be stable and the population will also be stable usually. Okay, for example, most of the developed countries are actually coming in this stage, and at last in the stage 5, demographic gap will be declining. So minimum demographic gap will be seen, or negative demographic gap might be appreciated. Okay, if you talk about the population, obviously death rate will be more, birth rate will be high in this case, right? Right over here. Okay, sorry, in the stage 5, what I told you, birth rate was declining and the death rate was stable. Okay, so due to that, declining, right? Declining of this one. Okay, declining. So birth rate will be reducing and death rate will be more in the stage 5. So declining population will be seen in this particular stage, right? So yes, so that will be seen, right? So this is the kind of a summary of this demographic cycle. So very important, simple MCQs might be asked, okay, and you must answer them correctly. Okay, this is a very straightforward topic, guys, but still very, very high yield for the exam, right? If the PSM I'm talking about in any exam, definitely the question will be coming from the demographic cycle. Okay, most important MCQ, and in the demography, whole demography, 50% chances are there that question might come from the demographic cycle only, right? Okay, guys, once we have talked about the demographic cycle, we shall talk about some of the demographic processes. Okay, so now let's talk about demographic processes. Right, so if we talk about the demographic processes over here, okay, we shall talk about 5 demographic processes. First of all, the first one is the birth rate. This might also be called as the fertility rate, guys. This might also be called as the fertility rate. Okay, after the birth, what happens? There is a migration, right? There is a migration usually, so please remember like that. There could be the migration. After the migration, what happens usually? There could be the marriage. So we are talking about the marriage rates. Okay, here I shall write the migration rate. After the marriage, what happens? The fourth one over here. Okay, after the marriage, what happens? There could be the social mobility or the social migration. So social migration might happen, right? Social migration might happen, right? And if you are growing well, there could be the interchanging of the criteria. For example, you were in the I would say middle class family, and there is a category in the middle class family also, low middle class family, middle class family, and the higher middle class family, right? So there could be the interchangeability for that section also, or from the middle class family you could be coming in the upper class family, right? So that kind of interchangeability might be seen as well, right, in the social migration. That is the meaning of the social migration. And at last there could be the death, so that is the death rate. So obviously somebody who is coming in this particular environment has to go at last, right? So death rate, okay, or mortality rate. Obviously mortality rate also, that could be the thing, same thing only. But morbidity is not the case. Which of the following is not the demographic processes? Morbidity is not. Morbidity is a sickness, mortality is the death. So please, birth rate, death rate, it is very, very simple to understand. In between there could be the migration, right? In between marriage rates and the social migration, right? These are the 5 components, 5 demographic processes we are talking about. Very, very important. Which of the following is not a demographic process? This kind of MCQ might be asked. Next point over here is, what is annual growth rate? Right? What is annual growth rate? That is the AGR. That is the annual growth rate. Okay. In the annual growth rate, we are actually talking about, this is the demographic gap divided by 10. What was the demographic gap? Difference between the birth rate, death rate. Birth rate minus death rate, if you will be dividing it by 10, that is the annual growth rate. So annual growth rate is telling us about, AGR is the birth rate minus death rate. If you will be dividing it with 10, you will be getting the annual growth rate. Okay, so usually we are seeing that if I'll be writing a population in this particular session, okay, in this section, population on one side and the annual growth rate on the other side, usually they are asking us about this particular rate, right? How the question might come, let me tell you. Some population might be there who are slow growing, some population might be there who are moderately growing, some population might be there who are very rapidly growing, or some might be there who are actually explosively growing, right? So according to that, there could be different stages, but depending on that different stages, how we can actually say that what kind of annual growth rate they are having. So over here we are actually saying that if the country is slow growing, if any population is slow growing, right, or some population might be moderately growing as well, moderately growing. Some population might be there who are rapidly growing. Some might be there who are very rapidly growing, right? Very rapid growing, right? Or some might be there who might be actually having the explosive growth in the population, right? So for these things actually we are talking about the different annual growth rate. Okay, and it is very easy to understand also. You just need to remember the 0.5% difference. Okay, what I'm talking about? I'm talking about this. For the slow growing population, right, we are talking about the annual growth rate, it will be less than 0.5% because it is slow growing population, right? If you talk about the moderately growing population, you will be just adding the 0.5 to it, 0.5 to 1%. Then rapid 1 to 1.5%, very rapid 1.5 to 2%, and if it is explosively growing, then it is more than 2%. What should be the annual growth rate for any country? It should be less than 1% or it should be 1%. If it is more than 1%, we are seeing that the population will be in the rapidly growing phase or the moderately rapidly growing phase, or if it is more than 2, then it would be the explosive growth of the country as well. Okay, so our target for India also, the target of the India is annual growth rate as 1, right? To keep the annual growth rate as 1, so that our population will be under check, our population will be under control, right? Okay, now there is one model what was proposed earlier, that is the Malthusian growth model. Okay, Malthusian growth model, basically it talks about the annual growth rate and the doubling of population. If the annual growth rate is this much, in how many years this population will probably be double, right? That is the basically role of this Malthusian growth model, and usually questions are actually tested very frequently from this particular section, right? So annual growth rate, basically they are saying that if the annual growth rate is 1%, let's say, right, it might be 0.5%, it might be 2%. Usually we are seeing that if it is 1%, then population will probably be double in 70 years. If it is 0.5%, then obviously it will take double time, so it will be 140 years. And if it is 2%, this is the explosive growth, right, or the very rapidly growth, right? If it is more than 2%, then it will be the explosive growth category. So over here, the country population might be double in just half years of the 1%, that is the 35 years, right? And all of these might be your MCQs, direct MCQs, right? All of these might be your direct MCQs, guys. Please remember them, right? So you just remember 1% annual growth means 70% will be the 70 years will be taken by this population to almost double, right? Obviously the data may change, but that is kind of a overall broad idea about that. Depending on that, they might ask you 0.5% or annual growth rate might be given, or 2% annual growth rate might be given. Okay, these kind of questions might be asked actually, and you need to tell that how many years. For example, in the year of 2000, this much population was present over there, right? And annual growth rate was this much population was present over there. Annual growth rate was 1%. So in what year this population will be doubled, right? For example, 1 lakh population was there in some country, or I would say 10 lakh, 1 crore people was there, 1 crore population was there at what in year 2000, right? In year 2000, this population with the annual growth rate of 1%, in what particular year this population will be 2 crores? I told you 1 crore population was there in the year 2000. In what year approximately, if with the annual growth rate of 1%, this population will be becoming 2 crores? Your answer would be which year? 2070, because in 2000 with the annual growth rate of 1%, population doubling rate is 70 years. So in the year 2000, if it was how many percent? If it was 1 crore, then in the 2070 year it could become the 2 crore, right? If the annual growth rate is 1%, let's say. That's how they can actually fluctuate the annual growth rate as well, and that's how the answer will also change, right? So accordingly you can calculate on the basis of this Malthusian growth model, right? So once we have talked about that, so now currently India is actually in moderate to rapidly growing, okay, and having the annual growth rate of 1%. If we'll be keeping it under 1%, right, it will be good for our country. So basically right now India currently is in moderate to rapidly growing, right? Moderate to rapidly growing state, right, with annual growth rate of 1%. Okay, so we want to keep it under 1%, right? That will be our target. Now, what are age pyramids? Okay, what are age pyramids? So let's talk about them as well, right? If you talk about the age pyramid, basically here we are having a graph. Okay, let me show the age pyramids also so that you can understand it very well what I'm talking about over here, right? So look over here. Yeah, so this is the age pyramid which you are seeing right now on your screens, right? So over here what we can see, this is the age pyramid, right? In this age pyramid we are seeing that with the yellow color they are showing the males, and with the green color they are showing the females, right? So in the age pyramids we are seeing that in the population or the age pyramid, okay, with the yellow color they are showing the male on one side and females on the other side, on the right side, that is the green color, right? On the y-axis we are seeing that there is a age. On the x-axis we are seeing that there is a population, right? First point. Over here, this kind of thing, this area we are calling this as base. This area we are calling this as base, right? Okay, and this area over here we are calling that as middle portion, and this over here, this area will be called, we will be calling that as apex, right? Obviously anything, this kind of thing, this is the base, that is the middle portion, and then this is the apex, right? Okay, in this area we are talking about birth rate. In this area we are talking about the death rate. In this area we are talking about the economical people. Economical people means who are non-dependent people, For any country, if more number of people are actually coming in the economical state, it will be better for the economy of the country also, and for the ecosystem for the country also. Okay, so more number of economical people means more number of middle people if they are present in any country, and less number of death rate and less number of birth rate. Okay, this means this kind of country basically will be having the good ecosystem at that point of time, right? Okay, so once we have talked about this kind of system, this became a bit dirty over here. I will just be removing this particular thing over here, but the basic idea I think you understood over here, that what I want to tell you. I wanted to tell you that over here, that the below portion is actually telling you about the birth rate, above portion is telling you about the death rate, and the middle portion is telling you about the economical people basically. And on the y-axis we are talking about the age, and in the x-axis we are talking about the population over here. Once you have talked about this basic idea of the age pyramid, right, on the left side we are talking about the males, and the right side there could be the females, and there could be the changing also, right? On this side you might talk about females, and this side you might talk about male also. Okay, but usually we are taking this males and females like that. Okay guys, now if you talk about the reproductive idea, so over here in the base we are having the pre-reproductive age group. In the middle we are having the reproductive age group, that is the 15 to 45 years, and on the above side we are having the elder population, that is the post-reproductive age group, right? So that is the case over here. Now what I am saying over here is, look at this classification guys, look at this classification. Okay, you will be understanding it very easily. Okay, I am drawing two particular things over here. I am drawing two particular diagrams over here. Okay, one population is having this kind of age pyramid, that is this one. Okay, that is this kind of age pyramid, right? And next population is having this kind of age pyramid. This kind of age pyramid, like here the population was presenting like this. As I told you, male and female will be there, right? Like this age pyramid. This is also the triangular shape, isn't it? This is also the triangular shape, isn't it? Right? So like that. This is the first category, right? And on this side, I am drawing this kind of population, right? So this is the pre-reproductive age group, and this is the reproductive age group, and this is the post-reproductive age group. Okay. Okay, understood. So this kind of thing, this is the stage 2 or category 2, I mean. If you will be comparing these two categories guys, what main points I can derive from this particular thing? In the stage 1, in the category 1 people, okay, basically what kind of country they are coming in this particular age pyramid? Developing countries are coming in this particular thing, in this particular age pyramid, right? All the developing countries basically, right? So developing countries are coming under this particular thing. Here we are seeing that, this one I told you, we are representing it birth rate over here, and here we are representing the death rate, like that pre-reproductive age group, reproductive and the post-reproductive age group. So birth rate will be more or less, and death rate will be more or less. So death rate over here, obviously they are actually less, and birth rate will be more in this particular age pyramid. So in the developing countries, we are usually seeing that birth rate is more and death rate is less, right? So over here, basically, either this could be the explosively growing countries, or either they could be the rapidly growing countries or the moderately growing countries. Okay, this is the thing, or very rapidly growing countries. So basically over here we are seeing that birth rate is more, and death rate is low with this kind of age pyramid, right? And we are seeing that here we are seeing that base it is the broad, and apex it is narrow. So we are seeing that they are having the broad base and narrow apex, isn't it guys? It is very easy to understand. Just be with me over here. So over here we are seeing that two kinds of age pyramid we are seeing. One is having the broad base and apex is narrow, triangular shape of pattern of the age pyramid. Okay, once we have what we have talked about, that is earlier also with the image, and here we are talking about this kind of age pyramid where middle age population, economically more people, more non-dependent people are actually present over here. In reproductive age group is actually present over here, and birth rate and death rate is on the lower side in the other side on this particular age pyramid. I will talk about that. So over here this can be seen, right? Here what we are seeing, the children's or the more younger population will be more than the middle population, and middle population will be more than the elder population, obviously, because that's how it is looking like age pyramid, right? Here the broad base we are having and the narrow apex we are having. So obviously younger population will be more, then middle population will be more than the older population, right? That is the thing which we are seeing over here. So young people is more than the middle people, and middle people is more than the elder people over here, right? So that we can write. On the other side, we shall write that in the second category of the age pyramid, we shall write over here that this kind of age pyramid is seen for the developed countries. For example, US, UK, okay, these kind of countries over there. And we shall talk about here. We are having, this is the belly. This is the belly. So here, this belly is the broad belly. This belly is the broad belly, right? This is the broad belly over here, right? Here, what we are seeing that this is the birth rate. Here we are having the death rate, right? What we are seeing basically, the birth rate is lesser or the fertility rate is lesser, right? Then next point over here, which kind of population is more over here? This is population which is more over here, middle year population which is more over here. Middle age people are more than the younger and the older population, right? Middle age people are more than the older and the younger people. So middle age people is more, middle population is more than the middle population is more than the younger and the elder people, younger and the elder population. Okay, so that is the thing. I hope you understood the difference between these two age pyramids, right? Once you understood between these two age pyramids, right, now I'm gonna talk about some more differences over here. Let's say guys, I'm drawing over here, I'm drawing one particular age pyramid is this, right? One particular age pyramid is this in front of you. Okay, so let me just draw it very well. Okay, so one age pyramid is this one, right? Other age pyramid is like this. Yeah, it is like this. Okay, it is like this. And one more age pyramid I'm drawing over here. It is kind of the population will be like this, obviously, right? And this pyramid is like this. Okay, I mean like this, isn't it? Right? So again guys, stage, like this is the category 1, this is the category 2, and this is the category 3 over here. Let me differentiate some important salient features over here in between these three pyramids, these three age pyramids, right? First point over here which I want to highlight, that is your birth rate. About birth rate, hey, guys, you should be telling me right now what will happen to the birth rate of the stage of the category 1 age pyramid. Obviously you are saying that it is a birth rate more high birth rate will be seen over here. What will be the population over here? That will be the growing population, developing country I'm talking about. So population will be obviously more in this particular age pyramid, right? And third point over here, what kind of population I'm talking about? Rapid growing population I'm talking about. So rapid growth might be seen in this particular age pyramid. Okay, one more practice guys, once more let's practice this one. In the second one, in the category 2 age pyramid, in the second category age pyramid, what we are seeing in this one, here we are seeing that, what is our rule? Here we are talking about the birth rate, here we are talking about the death rate. Obviously this is the birth rate, this is the death rate. Here also this is the death rate, this is the birth rate, right? What will happen look at the category 2 age pyramid right now. Okay, we'll talk about the stage 3 later on. In the category 2 we are seeing that what is happening to the birth rate? Still birth rate is higher, and death rate is lower. Okay, but over here what we are seeing that birth rate is on the higher side. What about the death rate guys? Death rate comparatively, let's try to compare. This is the death rate and this is the birth rate. So still we are seeing that birth rate is more as compared to the death rate. So birth rate and death rate will be on the lower side. Okay, here we are seeing that most of the population are coming under the stable kind of population, right? And here we are seeing that slow growing population. So population will be having the slow growth, right? On the other side we are seeing that the birth rate and the death rate. Can you compare the birth rate, death rate? Are you seeing some difference over here? Almost same. So birth rate will be actually equaling to the death rate. It means that number of births which are happening in the country is equivalent to the number of deaths. Some people are coming in the population and some people are going from the population as they are actually meeting up with the death, right? Over here we are seeing that population will be declining. Usually population will be declining, and over here we are talking about zero growth of the population. The population is in the declining stage over here, or the population might be in the, for example, Norway might be in this stage, or the Germany might be in this stage, right? Usually they are coming in the stage 5. Okay guys, so once we understood about the stage 4 or stage 5, right? So once we understood about these kind of age pyramid, now let me talk about some of the important points over here. For example, what is the demographic trap, or what is the demographic gap? Okay, demographic gap we have talked about. What is the demographic trap, or what is the demographic gift, right? So let me talk about first of all over here, what is the demographic gap. And demographic cycle has already been covered, age pyramid has already been covered. Demographic gift. Okay, it is also called as, guys, demographic gift. It is also called as demographic dividend. It is also called as demographic bonus. Okay, so all of these might be your MCQs, guys. So these are the different names of this one. Okay, what is the demographic gift or demographic bonus or demographic dividend? Okay, usually in this stage we are seeing that high number of economically people, high number of economic productive people are found over here. So middle population will be more as compared to the death rate population and the birth rate population, right? So I mean the middle year population will be more as compared to the elder population and the younger population, right? So if the middle year population will be more, right, here in these kind of countries, if the population is there, this kind of population is there, so economically they will be stable, and the ecosystem of the population, ecosystem of the country will also be very stable, right? So here demographic gift, actually that's why we are talking about gift. This is a gift to the country, demographic gift or demographic bonus, and this is a demographic dividend of the country, right? All of these things are, you know, English synonyms only, demographic gift or bonus or dividend, right? This is the thing. So over here basically we are talking about this usually occurs. Why it is occurs? It is occurring due to the decrease in the birth rate usually. Okay, here we are seeing that middle age population is more in the country. So middle age population is more, or economically productive people is more, or non-dependent people, economically productive people is more in this particular, people are more in this particular country, right? Or I can say that non-dependent people, non-dependent population is more in this country. Okay, in whichever country, this is called as your this one, right? Non-dependent population is more, right, than it is the demographic gift or demographic dividend or demographic bonus to the country, right? Usually it is maximal in stage 3. Usually it is maximum in stage 3. Okay, so please remember that. Now the point over here which I want to make is, what is the demographic trap? This is not the gift, this is the trap. Basically demographic trap will be mostly seen in explosive stage of the demographic cycle, and that was your explosive growth was seen in the early expanding stage, that was stage 2, so and demographic trap is seen in which stage, guys? MCQ, that is the stage 2. Okay, so please do remember that as well. So demographic gift, I told you, that is the demographic dividend or demographic bonus, okay, whatever you want to call it, that was in the stage 2, that is the early expanding stage. In the stage that was in the stage 3, sorry, and here I am talking about demographic trap, that is the early expanding, that is the stage 2. Okay, once you have talked about that, right, then let's talk about the demographic liability, right? One more thing over here, you know, that in the demographic trap we are actually talking about the decrease in the dependency ratio. So dependency ratio will be actually decreasing over here, right? Anyways, that's not that important, but over here the important point is demographic liability. In the demographic liability, basically we are actually talking about the population in the country, that is the older population. So in this case, older population will be more as compared to the middle age population and the younger population. If I will be drawing the age pyramid of this country, I will be drawing something like this, inverted triangle. Okay, so here what I can see, I hope you are understanding now what is demographic liability. Here we are seeing that this is the demographic this is the death rate, and here it is the birth rate. So we are seeing basically that death rate is more as compared to the middle population and the younger population, right? So over here I shall write that here we are seeing that more number of older population is seen. More number of older people are actually living in this particular country, right? More number of these people. So it is a declining stage. It is seen in which stage, guys? Stage 5. So seen in stage 5 basically. Okay. Next point over here, which we can see over here. Look at the death rate and look at the birth rate, guys. Can you tell me what is happening to death rate and birth rate? Here, obviously, death rate will be more and birth rate will be less. Okay. Birth rate will be more and birth rate will be less over here, right? So that is actually seen over here in this particular demographic liability. So older number of people are actually living in this particular country, right? Once you have talked about that, now I shall talk about the dependency ratio. Now we shall talk about the dependency ratio. What is dependency ratio? Sometimes these kind of terms might be tested in your MCQs, right? They have been previously tested, so they might be coming in the upcoming exams as well. So dependency ratio, basically we are seeing that the age which is the people which are non-dependent divided by people which are dependent multiplied by 100. So what I am seeing over here is total number of dependent population. It is a ratio of total number of dependent population and the total number of independent population over here, right? So total number of dependent population. So dependent population, it is a ratio of dependent population and non-dependent population. Okay, if you will be multiplying it with 100, then you will be getting your answer, right? So over here, non-dependent or independent population. So over here I shall write dependency ratio as, okay, number of dependent population. Dependent population means the age group which is actually coming from 14 to 65 years. I mean less than 14. Okay, dependent population, it would be age less than 14 and more than 65 years, right? In between this age group, I will be saying that this is the dependent population. Depending on obviously the children's, infants and all, they are actually depending on their parents and all of these things, right? And more than 65 elder population, they will not be seeking the job, obviously, okay, or they might be having the retirement in their hand, right? Obviously. And non-dependent population means they are actually dependent on themselves. They are actually doing the jobs and all of these things, right? So between the age group of 15 to 64, they have actually considered them as non-dependent people or independent people. 15 to 64 years of age group. So it is, if you will be multiplying it with 100, then this is not the DR. It is the dependency rate, so not the death rate. So rather I will be writing it as dependency rate only, so that you don't confuse it, because I was using the DR for death rate. So dependency rate, it is the dependency, not the rate, it is the ratio, dependency ratio, right? So once we have considered that, right, basically if you talk about in India, right, so younger age dependency, it is around 38.9%. so let me mention that as well. So in India, basically if we talk about, right, some of the main important point over here, right? The main important point over here is that one is the younger age group dependency, right? Younger age group dependency is 38.9%, right? It is the 38.9%, right? If you talk about the older age group, old age dependency, then it is around 9%, guys. It is around 9%, so it will be around 9.7%. If you will be doing the total sum up of these things, so total dependency, right, total dependency ratio, it is around 48.6%, right? You can actually calculate that, okay, if you will be summing up of this thing, right? So major contributor, we are seeing that it is our younger population, right? It is our younger population, younger age dependency. You are seeing that younger age dependency ratio, basically we are seeing that this is the 38.9%. so majorly younger people are actually contributing in India, right? Okay. Now we shall talk about what is the old age dependency ratio. This was the young age dependency ratio is there. One is the dependency ratio, that is the broader term. Then if you talk about the old age dependency ratio, there we are talking about that if the age is more than 64 years. So let me mention that documented also. Old age dependency ratio. Old age dependency ratio. Okay. However, it has not been asked in the FMGs mainly. So basically, old age dependency ratio is actually talking about the age which is more than 64 years. Age more than 64 years means dependent person, elderly dependent person. That's why we are talking about the old age dependency ratio over here. And age between the age group of 15 to 64 years, they are the independent people. Multiply it with 100. So you will be getting it answer over here, right? Okay, so basically this is the ratio. This is the ratio of the dependent people, I mean the elderly dependent people by the non-dependent people or the independent people, right? So with that we have talked about the demography. Thank you.